The autumn sun cast a golden glow across the quiet neighborhood as Margaret Collins carefully parked her old sedan in front of an elegant brick house. She sat behind the steering wheel for a long moment, smoothing the wrinkles from her simple navy blue dress. Beside her lay a neatly wrapped homemade apple pie, still warm from the oven. Today wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about peace. Her only son, Daniel, was getting married in 2 weeks to Sophia Bennett, the woman he loved deeply. Margaret wanted the two families to begin their journey with kindness instead of awkwardness. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car. The front door opened before she could knock twice. A tall woman in a designer dress smiled politely. "You must be Margaret. And you must be Victoria. It's wonderful to finally meet you." Victoria accepted the pie with a practiced smile. How thoughtful. Inside, everything sparkled, crystal chandeliers, imported furniture, fresh white roses decorated every room. Margaret suddenly felt painfully aware of her inexpensive handbag and worn shoes. Still, she smiled. "I'm happy Daniel and Sophia found each other." Victoria poured tea. They certainly did. For the next hour they chatted about flowers, wedding decorations, seating arrangements, and family traditions. Everything seemed pleasant, at least on the surface. When Margaret stood to leave, Victoria hugged her lightly. "It was lovely meeting you." "The pleasure was mine." Margaret drove away feeling relieved. Maybe everyone had worried for nothing. Maybe the wedding really would unite two families. 20 minutes later, Margaret reached home. Only then did she realize her coat wasn't in the back seat. My coat. Inside one pocket was the gold locket that had belonged to Daniel's late father. She couldn't leave it behind. She immediately drove back. Victoria's house was quiet. The front door wasn't fully closed. Margaret knocked. No answer. She gently pushed the door open. "I'm sorry, Victoria. I left my coat." Then she heard voices coming from the dining room. She froze. Victoria laughed. "I can't believe Daniel's mother actually baked me a pie." Another woman chuckled. "She looked exactly like I imagined. So ordinary." Victoria sighed dramatically. "I honestly don't know what Sophia sees in that family." Someone else asked, "Does Daniel have money?" Victoria smirked. "Not really. But Sophia loves him. Then why allow the marriage?" Victoria stirred her coffee. "Sophia inherited millions from her grandfather. Daniel is hardworking, obedient, and completely devoted to her. He'll make the perfect husband. And once they're married," she smiled coldly, "he'll eventually help grow our family's businesses." Another guest laughed. "So you're marrying your daughter into free labor?" "Exactly." Margaret felt her heart sink. Then Victoria continued. "And Daniel's mother? I'll tolerate her for the wedding. After that, I doubt we'll ever invite her over." The room erupted in laughter. Margaret's eyes filled with tears, not because they mocked her clothes, not because they laughed at her pie, but because they saw her son as nothing more than a useful tool. She quietly grabbed her coat from the hallway. No one noticed. She walked back outside with trembling hands. By the time she reached her car, tears streamed down her face. That evening Daniel arrived smiling. "Mom, guess what? Sophia found the perfect honeymoon resort." Margaret forced a smile. "We need to talk." Daniel immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" Margaret hesitated. If she told him everything, would she destroy the happiest moment of his life? Or save him from years of pain? Finally she spoke. "I went back for my coat." Daniel frowned. "And I heard a conversation." She repeated every word, every insult, every cruel laugh, every plan. Daniel listened silently. When she finished, he simply stared at the floor. "I don't believe it. I wish I were wrong." The next morning Daniel drove straight to Sophia's apartment. "I need to ask you something." She smiled. "What is it?" "Did your mother ever tell you why she approved of our marriage?" Sophia looked confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel repeated the conversation. Sophia's smile disappeared. "No. My mother would never say that. Would she?" She immediately called Victoria. "Mom! Did you say those things?" There was a long silence. Finally Victoria sighed. "You weren't supposed to hear about that?" Sophia's face turned pale. "So, it's true." Victoria sounded annoyed. "Oh, don't be dramatic. Marriage has always been about status. You love him? We need his loyalty. It's a good arrangement." Sophia hung up without another word. That evening she appeared at Margaret's house. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "I'm so sorry." Margaret opened the door. "You knew nothing." Sophia shook her head. "I swear. My father died when I was young. My mother controlled everything. I thought she finally accepted Daniel." Margaret believed her. The pain in Sophia's eyes couldn't be faked. The next day, Daniel met Sophia in the park. I love you. I love you too. But love without trust won't survive. Sophia nodded. I understand. If you want to cancel the wedding, I'll accept it. Daniel looked away. I don't want to marry into lies. Sophia whispered. Neither do I. They embraced, both crying. 3 days later, invitations were withdrawn. Guests were shocked. Rumors spread across town. Some blamed Daniel. Others blamed Sophia. Neither explained the truth. Weeks passed. Victoria repeatedly tried to repair the damage. She apologized. Not because she felt remorse, but because her reputation was suffering. Sophia saw through every word. For the first time in her life, she stood up to her mother. I'm done living according to your plans. She moved into a small apartment, found a teaching job, and began building a life on her own. It wasn't luxurious, but it was honest. Months later, Daniel and Sophia met again by chance at a community charity event. There were no expensive clothes, no wealthy families, no expectations. Just two people who had grown stronger through heartbreak. Sophia smiled shyly. I've missed you. I've missed you too. This time, they started over slowly. Not because of wealth, not because of family approval, but because they chose each other freely. A year later, they married in a quiet garden ceremony. Only close friends and people who truly loved them attended. Margaret baked the wedding cake herself. When she placed it on the table, Sophia hugged her tightly. I've never had a mother who loved me like you do. Margaret smiled through tears. Then from today on, you do. Daniel looked at the two women who had become the true foundation of his life. He realized something priceless. Sometimes, a forgotten coat isn't an inconvenience. Sometimes, it's the moment that reveals the truth before it's too late. And while one wedding had been canceled, it had made room for a marriage built on honesty, respect, and unconditional love. A love that would last far longer than any grand celebration ever could.